You have seen this image 1,000 times. You are scrolling through Instagram or YouTube, and you see a guy sitting on a pristine white beach in Bali. He has a laptop open. He has a fresh coconut in his hand. And the caption says, "Make money while you sleep." It is the ultimate modern fantasy, the idea that you can detach your time from your money. No boss, no commute, just money flowing into your bank account like a river, whether you work or not. But here is the brutal truth that those courses and gurus won't tell you. Most of passive income culture is a lie. It is a marketing funnel designed to sell you a dream, while the person selling it is working 80 hours a week to sell you that course. The problem isn't the concept of passive income. Dividends and interest are real. The problem is the math. Most people are operating on napkin math. They think, if I can just get $1,000 a month in dividends, I'm free. Or, if I buy one rental property, I can quit my job. But this math ignores the three silent killers of wealth: inflation, taxes, and market volatility. The math they show you assumes a perfect world where bread always costs $2, where the stock market never crashes, and where the tax man doesn't exist. Today, we aren't going to sell you a dream. We are going to look at the cold, hard numbers. We are going to calculate exactly how much money you actually need to walk away forever. And I have to warn you, the number is much higher and the timeline is much longer than you think. But if you stay until the end, I will show you the only realistic way to build it without winning the lottery. Let's look at the math of misery. Let's start with the magic number. If you ask the average person how much money they need to retire and never work again, they almost always give the same answer: $1 million. It sounds huge. It sounds infinite. It sounds like you could buy a yacht and sail into the sunset. But in the world of professional finance, $1 million isn't a finish line. It's barely a safety net. To understand why, we have to look at the 4% rule. This is the golden rule of passive income. It states that you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year without running out of money before you die. So, let's run the math on your dream scenario. You work hard, you save, and you finally hit that massive $1 million milestone. You quit your job, you tell your boss goodbye, and then you go to withdraw your salary. 4% of $1 million is $40,000 a year. That is roughly $3,300 a month. Now, stop and think about that. $3,300 a month. That isn't rich. That isn't Lamborghinis and caviar. Depending on where you live, that is barely middle class. In cities like New York, London, or Los Angeles, that is poverty. Once you pay for rent, health insurance, food, and utilities, that $3,300 is gone. You aren't traveling the world. You are sitting in a small apartment, clipping coupons, hoping your boiler doesn't break because you can't afford to fix it. This is the math of misery. The dream of the millionaire lifestyle actually requires a multi-million-dollar portfolio. If you want the lifestyle the gurus promise you, the nice car, the business class flights, the freedom to eat out whenever you want, let's say that costs $100,000 a year to generate a safe passive $100,000 a year using the 4% rule. You don't need $1 million, you need $2.5 million. Suddenly, the goalpost hasn't just moved, it has been launched into a different stratosphere. And this realization breaks people. When you realize that saving $10,000 a year won't get you there for 250 years, you feel like giving up. The math feels impossible, but here is the secret. The math is impossible if you rely solely on saving, but it is not impossible if you understand the variables we are going to discuss next, because there is a force eating your money that is even more dangerous than a small withdrawal rate. So, we established that you need $2.5 million just to maintain a middle-class lifestyle. But I have bad news. That number assumes you are retiring today. If you are 25 years old right now, and you plan to retire in 20 years, that $2.5 million won't be enough. It won't even be close. This is because of the silent killer that destroys 99% of passive income plans: inflation. Think of your money like an ice cube sitting on the counter. Every single year, it melts by about 3% to 4%. That doesn't sound like much, right? But over 20 years, that compounding destruction is catastrophic. If inflation averages just 3.5%, the cost of living doubles every 20 years. That means the $100,000 lifestyle you are dreaming of today will cost $200,000 by the time you actually get there. So now, your target isn't $2.5 million. It is $5 million. But wait, we aren't done. We haven't talked about your uninvited business partner, the government. Passive income is often taxed higher or differently than regular income, depending on where it comes from. If you make money from dividends, interest, or rent, the tax man wants his cut before you can buy groceries. Let's say you manage to get a 7% return on your investments. Inflation eats 3%. That leaves you with 4%. Taxes take another 1% to 2%. Your real return, the actual wealth you are building, is barely 2% or 3%. This is why the laptop on the beach dream is so dangerous. It tricks you into thinking you can escape the rat race with a small amount of money, but in reality, you are trying to fill a bucket that has a massive hole in the bottom. Does this mean you should give up? Absolutely not. But it means you need to stop chasing safe, passive income strategies like high-yield savings accounts or dividend stocks too early, because if you chase a 4% yield, you are barely breaking even. To beat this inflation monster, you don't need safety. You need growth. And unfortunately, many beginners try to get the growth by falling into the high-yield trap. When people see the math we just discussed, that they need $5 million to retire, they panic. Their brain instantly searches for a shortcut. They think, okay, 7% returns are too slow. I need 12%, 15%, or 20% returns to make this work. They start looking for high-yield investments. They find crypto staking schemes, peer-to-peer lending, or sketchy dividend stocks that promise massive payouts. But here is the rule that Wall Street knows, but beginners ignore. Risk and reward are glued together. If an investment is paying you 12% interest while the bank is paying 4%, it is not because the bank is stingy. It is because there is a high chance that investment will go to zero. We call this the yield trap. You are so focused on the income, the golden eggs, that you don't notice the goose is sick and dying. There is a famous analogy for this strategy, picking up pennies in front of a steamroller. You are bending over to pick up that extra 1% or 2% yield, the pennies. But while you are staring at the ground, you don't see the massive steamroller of principal risk coming right at you. You might collect those pennies for 6 months. You feel like a genius. And then, splat. The market turns, the company goes bankrupt, or the coin crashes. You didn't just lose your profit. You lost the money you started with. To make back a 50% loss, you don't need a 50% gain. You need a 100% gain just to get back to where you started. Chasing high yield is the fastest way to destroy the wealth you have already built. So if we can't save our way there, too slow, and we can't gamble our way there, too risky. What is left? We have to stop trying to be passive investors and start being active entrepreneurs. Whenever I crush someone's dream about dividends being too slow, they always pivot to the same backup plan. Okay, I'll just buy real estate. I'll buy a rental property and live off the cash flow. It sounds perfect. You use the bank's money, leverage. You get a tenant to pay the mortgage, and you keep the difference. Gurus sell this as passive income. But let me be very clear, unless you have millions of dollars to hire a full-service management team, real estate is not an investment. It is a part-time job. When a pipe bursts at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, that is not passive. When a tenant refuses to pay rent and you have to spend 6 months in court to evict them, that is not passive. When the roof needs replacing and it costs $15,000, wiping out 3 years of your profit, that is definitely not passive. You are trading your peace of mind for a few $100s a month. You haven't escaped the rat race. You just became the landlord of the rat race. This applies to almost every passive income side hustle, starting an Amazon store, a YouTube channel, or a dropshipping business. These are businesses. They require sweat, stress, and sleepless nights. We need to redefine your expectations. True passive income is a luxury for the rich. It is what you get when your money works for you. Active income is what you get when you work for the money. Most beginners confuse the two. They think they are investing, but they are actually just buying themselves a second job with a terrible boss. themselves. There is a universal law called the time versus capital seesaw. If you have a lot of capital money, you don't need to use your time. You can be passive. If you have no capital, you must use your time. You cannot be passive. Trying to force passive income when you have no money is like trying to drive a car without fuel. You end up pushing it. So, if the goal is to stop pushing the car, we need a new strategy. We need to stop obsessing over the fruit, cash flow, and start focusing on the tree. So, if we can't save our way there, and we can't hustle our way there without a second job, what is the actual path to $5 million? It requires a massive shift in how you view money. Most beginners are obsessed with cash flow. They want to see money hitting their account today. They buy a dividend stock, get a check for $5, and do a victory dance. But at this stage, focusing on cash flow is a mathematical error. It is like trying to squeeze juice out of a single grape seed. You won't get any juice, and you will destroy the seed. Here is the equity first rule. In your accumulation phase, ages 20 to 50, you do not want income. You want equity. Income is taxed. Income is spent. Income slows you down. Equity is silent wealth. It is the value of your assets growing in the background, compounding without interruption. When a company pays you a dividend, they are effectively saying, "We have run out of ideas on how to grow this money, so here, you take it." You don't want companies that have run out of ideas. You want companies that are conquering the world. Let's look at the difference. If you invest for high yield, dividends, you might get a 4% payout and 2% growth. Total return 6%. If you invest for growth, equity, you get 0% payout, but 8% to 10% growth. Over 20 years, that 2% difference isn't small. It is the difference between retiring in comfort and working until you are 75. You need to be a farmer who refuses to eat the harvest. You plant the seeds. You grow the trees. You grow a massive forest. And only then, when the forest is huge, do you chop some wood to build a house. This is delayed gratification on steroids. The passive income lie tells you that you can have your cake and eat it too. The equity truth tells you that you have to bake the cake for 20 years before you can take a bite. It sounds harsh. It sounds boring. But this strategy, focusing on total return rather than cash flow, is how you bridge the gap to that $5 million number. Now, we need to combine this investing strategy with the one thing that actually speeds up the clock, the hybrid model. We have looked at the math, and it is scary. To get to $5 million using only compound interest might take 40 years. Most of us don't want to wait until we are 70 to be free. So, how do we cheat the timeline? How do we compress 40 years into 15 or 20? We use the hybrid model. This model accepts that your investments are the slow engine. They are reliable, but heavy. To move the heavy engine, you need a fast engine. That engine is active income. Most people focus entirely on defense. They cut coupons. They stop buying coffee. They try to save $5 here and $10 there. Defense is important, but it has a mathematical limit. You can only cut your expenses to zero. But offense, your ability to earn money, is unlimited. The hybrid model shifts your focus from saving pennies to creating dollars. It focuses on widening the gap, the distance between what you earn and what you spend. Here is a calculation that will change your life. We know that $300,000 invested in the market pays you roughly $1,000 a month in safe withdrawal income. That means every extra $1,000 you earn per month is mathematically equal to having $300,000 in the bank. Think about that. If you learn a new skill, get a promotion, or start a side business that pays you just $1,000 a month, you have just created the equivalent of $300,000 in wealth instantly. This is why the best investment in your 20s and 30s isn't the S&P 500. It is you. The S&P 500 returns 8% or 10%. A course, a certification, or a new skill can return 100%, 500%, or 1,000% on your money. The hybrid model is simple. Use your aggressive energy to build active income, offense. Then take 100% of that new money and dump it into passive assets, defense. You use the fast engine to fuel the slow engine. This is how you escape, not by finding a magic crypto coin. Not by trying to retire on $500,000, but by becoming so valuable in the marketplace that you can shovel massive amounts of cash into your portfolio. It's not as sexy as passive income. It's hard work, but unlike the dream they sell you, this path actually works. I want to leave you with one final image. The reason so many people fall for the passive income lie is because they are trying to build a shack. You can build a shack in a weekend. It's fast. It's easy. But the first time a storm comes, a recession, a job loss, a market crash, the shack falls down. You are back to zero. What we have talked about today, saving millions, fighting inflation, building skills, this isn't about building a shack. This is about building a cathedral. When the architects built the great cathedrals of Europe, they knew something profound. They knew they might not live to see them finished. They laid the foundations deep underground. They spent decades just working on the floor. To the outside world, it looked like nothing was happening. It just looked like a giant hole in the ground. Passers-by probably laughed at them. Why are you working so hard? Where is the building? But they weren't discouraged because they knew that to build something that touches the sky, you have to dig deep into the earth first. Your financial journey is that cathedral. For the first 5, 7, or even 10 years, it will feel like you are just digging a hole. You are saving, you are learning, but you aren't rich yet. The passive income lie tells you that you can skip the digging and just put the roof on, but gravity doesn't work that way. So stop looking for the shortcut. Stop trying to hack the process. Embrace the boredom. Embrace the slow, heavy lifting of laying one brick at a time. Because one day, you will look up, and you won't see a hole anymore. You will see a structure that protects you, supports you, and pays you for the rest of your life. The math is brutal. The path is long. But the view from the top, it's worth every single second. If you are ready to start laying your first brick, hit that like button to let me know. And if you want to know exactly which bricks to buy first, watch this video right here. I'll see you there.